everybody. Just FYI, we're recording the meeting. And I know you've probably received an announcement, but we're obligated to mention that to you as well. This is our first roundtable for the membership chairs, and we're very excited to have this happen today, and we've had a great response. We're expecting around 35 or 36 people to join us. And I was looking to see which dignitaries have joined us so far. We have Larry Lohman, our district governor. I don't know if Dave Jones had joined us or Julie Brandel, but Dale Smith is here, our district governor nominee designate, and Beverly Jen Grzinski, our vice district governor, is here as well. So welcome everybody. We have a number of other district officers and chairs with us this morning, and excuse me, but in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through the whole list, but welcome, and we're very proud to have everybody here. We have Cheryl Warren and Mike DeVanzo hosting us on Zoom, and they will be keeping us on track for the morning. Cheryl, you're showing up on the screen as the speaker on my screen. No? Okay. Our agenda this morning, we're going to start off with remarks by our district governor, Larry Lohman. Then we'll move to Dale Smith, who will be leading our meeting this morning. Then when we begin to get ready to close the meeting, Sean Gordon will review and report what our primary takeaways from the meeting are. And then we're going to have a period for attendee feedback. So we'd like to know what your thoughts were on the meeting and get your feedback. And our mission is to discuss the primary challenges, membership challenges that the clubs have right now, and what are our best practices across the district and all of our clubs. So we're looking forward to that discussion. With that, Larry, your thoughts, please.
Good morning, everybody. It's great to see everybody out on a Saturday morning. And, you know, we are now a little over halfway through this Rotary year. And this committee, this membership committee, has done just amazing things throughout this past year so far and the year prior. Our membership numbers are where we're expecting them right now. But, you know, hopefully with this roundtable and some initiatives that will be coming out in the near future, we can bounce those membership numbers up. Other ways to do it, you know, is one, we do have a public image committee as well. And as I've put out to all the presidents of our clubs, for myself coming out and talking to the clubs or being part of the service projects for any of the clubs, I'll bring the public image committee with me to help write stories and get the stories out to communities. This will help also with our membership initiatives as we move forward, as we'll be getting stories out and making Rotary more recognizable to our communities. So take advantage of it. Feel free, reach out to me anytime. My email address and phone number are on the website. I am available whenever, so please reach out to me. And I know if you reach out to Peter, you know, he can get questions to me as well. So thank you for being here this morning. I look forward, Peter, to seeing what this roundtable turns out to be today. I think it's going to be exciting.
Peter,
please unmute, Peter.
Please.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted. Dale, we're ready for you. So I'll turn the meeting over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Peter. So as our membership committee met and talked, what we really wanted to do was focus on how best we could help the clubs. And so to do that, we need to get some data. We need to understand, we all have our opinions, but we need to get some data on what the challenges and issues that you are seeing in terms of membership are right now. And then hopefully what we also want to do is quickly talk about some best practices, and we're going to walk through that pretty quickly, hopefully just a sentence or two each time, just so that we can capture what those are, and then we'll compile them and share them amongst all the district membership chairs and club presidents. So what we're going to do is we're going to do one or two survey questions. We'll do them 3 times. We want to focus on a maximum of 3 things, no more than that, so that we can really try to put some good actions behind them. So if there are no questions, why don't we go ahead and get started with the survey, if you would. So the 6 will be attracting new members, loss of members, member diversity, member participation in service projects, member participation in fundraising, and then instead of other, let's use that one for meeting attendance. Okay, attracting new members came out number 1. So in that case, we're going to go to the second question to look at what the potential driver for attracting new members could be, in your opinions. So given that member attraction is the most urgent issue identified, which of the below is the most significant current driver of that in your club? Is it meeting location, meeting time, meeting content or organization, pandemic impacts, cost, club culture, or other? So pandemic impacts was the number 1 there. So 57%. So what do we have ideas of how we can help impact or reduce the pandemic impacts on attraction of new members? You can either speak up, unmute yourself and speak up, or share ideas in the chat. Yes.
Yes, via Zoom, and offering Zoom to throughout the district and or to any other organizations or businesses in Northeastern Ohio or beyond.
Yeah, so are you suggesting full Zoom or a hybrid meeting?
Right at this point, with what's going on with the pandemic, we've actually have now gone Zoom completely. We were doing both hybrid for about maybe 6 or 7 months, and we've now, with the increase in the pandemic, we reverted back to Zoom completely as of last week.
But either going Zoom or hybrid could potentially impact or reduce the effect of the pandemic by allowing people to come in remote.
Correct.
Are there other ideas out there? Other things people have done to try to attract new members during the pandemic?
Well, we've done the Steve Atkins from the Willoughby Club. We did obviously shut down, went to Zoom, 7 new members over the course of that year. And we've also found that we could expand the speakers. I mean, we had speakers from Columbus and California. So that was, I don't know if you can still hear me, but anyways, that now we're back. Once we came back, we knew there were still members that were reluctant to be in person. So we did do the hybrid. That being said, maybe one or two a meeting, and that even would trail off. And then we'd also record it. But if you looked, very few people would actually look at the recording. So we stopped doing it in December, but now being back, we're all virtual now for the month of January. So we're going back to Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, my point is that if you looked at, it really wasn't that, I mean, it's something we've been trying to do for a long time, and the pandemic pushed us towards it to televise our meetings. But a very small percentage actually did it, would log on and you know, when we were in person, or even look at the recordings afterwards.
Yeah. Well, so rather than, I mean, in addition to just Zoom, kind of the idea there would be to leverage Zoom to enable you to have better speakers, more impactful speakers that might be of more interest to others.
Correct. In fact, I have coming up, we went to virtual. I have the Luke Stedke, who's Drive Ohio. He's based in Columbus. So for the self-driving cars, he's talking to us. I have the PR person from the Ohio State Marching Band as the next two speakers coming up. So again, we've gotten speakers from California and other places now you can get thinking outside the box, and just again, really they've commented that some of the best programming was in the past year we've had. So that was just been our experience. And it really came from the suggestion of Chester, the president of the Benner Club, who gave me the idea of thinking outside the box and, you know, just casting a wider net.
Good. Thank you, Stephen. What other ideas do we have?
Well, our club is doing both Zoom and the virtual option for the last 6 months. And it makes members very comfortable. They don't have to go to attend the meeting, but they are allowed to join by the Zoom. So both options are good.
Yeah. By the way, if you could turn on your video so we can see you, so that if you need to get our attention, we can actually see you. And then,
The video is on.
No, not you, Shale. I meant everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. And then also, if you, as several of you done, just announce yourself, identify yourself as to who you are and what club, because it's across multiple screens. If I don't see you on my screen, I won't know who you are. What are there other ideas besides Zoom and leveraging Zoom to get more impactful programs? What other ideas are there for attracting new members during the pandemic?
What about changing the normal form? Oh, sorry, Lee Quignano, the Mentor Club and the AG of Lake County. What about doing smaller weekly projects as a way to get people together? You know, like shoveling snow, or just as a way to re-engage with members that maybe aren't going to be comfortable sitting for an hour at a lunch, but they might be okay, doing a quick something. I'm sure there's a need in all of our communities for small things like that every season. So,
So kind of a small weekly
working party
project where we could get new people involved. Are there ways that we could maybe use? Yes, Pat.
I'm sorry. I was just going to build on what Lee said. I noticed that with our cluster, when we had the planting of trees in the park a few Saturdays ago, it brought out all kinds of people. And that seems to really resonate with everyone. They were outside, they could get together, they could do something, and it was great.
Thank you.
I'd like to say one of the things with Lee Quignano, was talking to him at a district membership meeting where he gave me the idea for the corporate membership. And that's really where our growth has been with corporate members. So that's pretty much, I think I have 2 now members in the pipeline organizations, but most already have been corporate members, their older members bringing in their business because they're not attending meetings all the time. So now their associate can attend in their stead.
So expanding corporate memberships and the use of corporate memberships.
That's been where our growth has come from.
Okay, thank you. Other thoughts, other ideas? What about perhaps using social media more heavily to engage people? So for example, getting involved with community pages and posting information on those smaller service projects or your meetings to try to attract new members. Is that a potential that anyone's tried? That was how we, yes, Ray.
Not in response to your question, but I've been thinking, and I want to piggyback onto Pat Meyer, her comment. We're supposed to be a service club, not a lunch club, not a dinner club, not a listening to speakers club. We're supposed to be a service club. And when I look at other organizations that seem to be doing well, they seem to be the groups that have found meaningful service projects to get people interested in their organization. And the turnout that was at the tree planting thing, at the cluster project, was, I don't want to say amazing, but it's the best I've seen in the few years that I've been involved with Rotary. And so if you're asking people to give up some of their time, or maybe looking at it with the pandemic issue that people were talking about, if you're looking for people to risk exposure during the pandemic, you got to have a damn good reason for it. And an outside project bettering the environment sure was successful. And if we're looking for best practices, rather than just looking for ideas, focusing on something that really worked is really a good idea. The Northampton Cuyahoga Valley Club has put a lot of effort into finding additional service projects for members to be involved in. We haven't found the secret sauce of these are the perfect ones yet, but we did just simply ringing bells for the Salvation Army. We just did different things that got people off their butts and out there doing something that they thought was worth the risk in dealing with the pandemic. So we do have something that worked. I would suggest that we all figure out a way of maybe not copying that specific one, but taking that gem of an idea and reflecting on how we can do other things that would do that.
Well, you said don't copy it, but I can tell you that Jim Lechko is leading a committee that's putting together a district project that is, we're hoping it will take place on April 30th, Saturday, April 30th, that will do something outdoors with the parks systems in our various counties, whether it's tree planting, addressing invasive species, or another area that I can't recall. But we're reaching out to all the county parks to do that, to try to get all members from all of our clubs across the district out that day. So, Ray, we freely stole that. So,
Well, I didn't mean it literally don't copy it. That's not the only thing
yeah, I
to
know.
do. There are other things with that concept that I think have a tremendous amount of merit.
Yeah, I agree. I just wanted to point out there's an opportunity coming up for everyone and to get people involved then.
Mr. Newberger has his hand up.
Yes. If you could unmute, please.
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. I have several questions. Our club also has been on Zoom most of the time, and that's a real problem in getting new members. We did get a couple of new members from other clubs. They've been members. One was a member in California and one was a member in Canton, and they've moved here, and so they've joined our club. But my real question is, how do you get new members? How do you get publicity out to get new members to come to the park, for example? You just talked about that. We don't know how to get the publicity out,
Phil, did you have a comment on that, Phil, or did you have another?
Yeah, I both had a comment and a response. The approach that we're taking in Twinsburg is we're actually conducting some lightweight fundraising that has like a that we're exposing to local residents and using that opportunity to show what our service projects are and what we're trying to raise money for, and at the same time we'll be talking about joining us. I mean, it's our goal to try to hit like about 30-35 members. We can actually spread the wealth as far as whose turn it is to run a particular service project and that kind of stuff, so it doesn't fall on the same people. So that way, and then because we get a lot of people that say, oh, I didn't even know what Rotary was about, and they're living in the same town that we meet in, and we meet in this pretty much in the center of town. But it's just one of those things that it gets us a little bit more in front of their face, and well, this is we're raising money for this project. You're welcome to come and help us, and you can also join the club and do some of our other good works that we do in the area. So that's what I wanted to mention.
Thank you. Larry?
Yeah, Dale kind of hit on it just a minute ago when he asked about, one, using social media, but to go a little bit above and beyond that, with our, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a district public image committee that, we can get, have you send the information to them or get with them, and they'll work on getting announcements out to your local communities through the paper, community service announcements through the radio. That's what our public image committee for the district's there to do. It's there to help our clubs to disseminate the information that we're trying to get out to our communities. So, again, feel free, reach out to Dale, myself, we both sit on that committee. And we'll be there. We'd be willing to help get that information out ahead of the project. And that gets a little front story out and might, gain some draw from your community as well. So, but it is there. We do have the tools to do it, and we're just waiting to hear from you.
We do pretty much the same thing, but we get zero response from the public. Our best method is person to person. We ask people to come, and they come to various things, and that's the only way it's worked for us.
If I can chime in, Dale?
Yeah.
One of the things that and forgive me, I know there are a lot of people who have probably heard me say this, and it's still kind of a work in progress, but one of the things we started doing was, if you think back to the student of the month, I know some of the clubs would do like a student of the month scenario, but I'm thinking, or I've mentioned this before about doing kind of like a Paul Harris of the quarter, where instead of recognizing Rotary members who really understand what a Paul Harris Fellow means in the world, I guess, recognizing other people and other businesses in the community that are doing good, like a good Rotarian would. They just don't know they're being a good Rotarian. And you essentially send in an invite to them, do a live, whatever platform they use, whether it's Instagram or TikTok. Many of them are beyond me, and I think many of them are beyond us. But from a lot of younger, motivated business owners who are out there doing things, they're using those platforms. So you send them a letter, say, hey, we've recognized you as someone in the community who's doing good. We'd like to honor you in the way we honor you. And you schedule a time with them, you go. They basically will set it all up for you. They will do all the promoting. They will invite their friends because they're proud of what they've done. And you're giving them an opportunity to, talk about that for a moment. I've done a script, and basically we explain to them what Paul Harris is, what Rotary does, why we are the institution that is recognizing them. You give them a nice, the Paul Harris plaque, the pin and whatnot, and see if you can get some traction that way through contacts that otherwise wouldn't be your contacts.
Thank you, Lee. And then, the Mentor Club did form a satellite club during the pandemic. And the way we found the members for that, to be honest, is using social media and our partnerships with other organizations in town. So we reached out and gave personal invitations to people who we thought would be good Rotarians on Facebook and engaged them in chats on Facebook. We posted the notice that the new club was forming along with Rotary's mission on the Mentor community pages. There's a couple of them. And then also got Leadership Lake County and the Chamber of Commerce to both place notices in their newsletters, and through those means is how we got our first 8 members of that club. So that was how we use social media to attract new members during the pandemic. And then Mark had a question about an invitation letter template. Does anyone have a template for an invitation letter for a potential new member? I'm thinking back, I might have one from about 16 years ago, Mark. That I don't think much of it would be out of date. I'll take a look for that.
Yes, my name is Jerry Bellam from Strongsville. And I just liked what Ray said. We all feel helpless. We can't do what we're supposed to do. People want to help and volunteer, but we have to give them something to do. We had a couple small projects. One was the Tower of Treasure. It was pretty much online, and we sold tickets, and you could win raffle tickets, 1,000 in cash, 4,000 in gift cards. That was good. And then we had a kind of a spur of the moment thing. We connected with the Rotary Club in Kentucky. And we were able to deliver over, I think, 110 blankets down there. We met with one of the club members. One of our members drove down, and everybody that was able to volunteer felt like they helped. They did something. We have to evaluate our major fundraisers. We have to come up with a game plan on how we're going to get out of this baloney that we're in. We're going to have a small meeting because of what we're talking about now next week with some past presidents, because we have to evaluate what the heck are we doing, because it seems like our club is like dead in the water. Nobody could get it motivated. And I think you need to have, the club needs to relook at itself and figure out what way we're going to move forward. So to me, the small projects, the meaningful projects, you can't recruit members if you aren't doing anything. And we've had a problem losing members, and I think everybody's had the same problem. So that's my opinion on, what we could do. It's a big problem, but we have to start working on it. And it would be good too, like you said, if the district could give us some suggestions, or we could do projects as a group.
Thank you, Jerry. Why don't we move, in the interest of time, why don't we move to asking the question a second time, the poll? When we put it up, remember that the other in the first question is meeting attendance, not other. So if you pop, and what we want to do this time is vote on your second most urgent need, or your first if attracting new members wasn't in the first poll. So we're trying to prioritize our work here. So if we'll pop that up again. Now again, here this time we're voting for our second most urgent, or your first if it wasn't selected the first time. And other, the last one, is member attendance at meetings. All right. So meeting attendance squeaked out ahead of member participation in service projects. So in that case, we're going to ask the second question again. And so if you close that, then we'll ask the second question to get your opinion on what is driving meeting attendance.
Almost there, Dale.
All right.
There we go. We're at 92%. That's where we've been ending.
And it's pandemic impacts again, with kind of what I suspected. So many of the actions that we talked about the first time would probably apply here again. Offering Zoom or hybrid meetings. Leverage Zoom to expand our speakers. Have smaller service projects to engage people. Have meaningful service projects. PI, public relations, public image. What other things are there that might be impacting meeting attendance other than the actions that, or what else could we do about it other than the actions that came up when it came to attracting new members? I know Larry shared one when we did a dry run of this back in December. So if you don't mind, Larry, can I call on you again?
Sure. Remind me what I discussed back in December.
Meeting location.
Yeah, that's one thing that, from my travels around talking to individuals from the clubs has been the problem with meeting locations, and especially with this pandemic, meeting locations disappearing on them. So, that is probably, one area that we, that has probably been the most common thing that's come up to me on meeting, on locations, is that, they go back to their meeting locations and they're either not open at the time that they're meeting, the business has closed, or they've given away their spot to somebody else. So, that is something that, we do, we've been asked to look at. Still don't have much of an answer for that, other than, looking at areas like maybe your local churches. Because I know, like my club, the Kent Club, we've met at the Methodist Church for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years. It's been a long, long time. And when we haven't been able to meet there, we've been able to meet at other churches or schools. even, depending on the time of year. So that is an area that we got to get, kind of inventive on. And unfortunately, the pandemic does not help us in this situation. But if there is insight on that from anybody who's dealing with this, I'm sure Dale and the whole group would love to hear it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I'm Alan from Hillcrest Sunrise, and we just recently left our organization, our venue, because it's too small during this pandemic. So we are in search of looking at other locations to have this. Is again, we're at a 7:15 in the morning sunrise. So what we're trying to do is get to a larger space that we could spread out a little bit more and make it more friendly for attracting new members, and also having our current members feel more comfortable at being at a larger location, spread out. I just want to put that out there.
I'll say,
Oh, sorry, Steve.
I was gonna say, when we looked to reopen last year, we one of the things we looked at was box lunches in the metro parks. It's not going to be applicable now, but as you start going forward, if that's still an issue with your venue and your members not feeling safe, because the reality is your membership is probably the most susceptible in there, older members in their 70s and 80s. So, we were going to do outdoors, safe distance in the metro parks, with pavilions. But we did find a larger venue that would cater to us with the box lunches. So that's what we ended up going with. But that was sort of our initial thought, to get members comfortable to meeting back in person again.
Good. Ray, did you have something?
Well, I don't have something that I can say is a proven technique that has worked within a Rotary organization, but a technique that worked in an organization I was in Illinois. And, I use the expression of making things personal tends to register more than something you read on a social media page or whatever, or anything printed or even a mailed invitation. But what I mean by making it personal is calling a member and to see how they're doing, just a well-being check, if that's what you wish to call it. But you haven't been in a meeting, we miss you, I hope everything's okay. If one of the reasons why people join Rotary is the clubs are very friendly, well, you got to be friendly before people can see that you have a friendly club. And being friendly can be done in a number of ways. And just because we're not face to face to be friendly and smile at people doesn't mean we can't be friendly in some other way. So I think it would be great to prove that being friendly by calling people, especially people you might not know very well, and just say, gee, I'd like to see you at a meeting. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's that to me, why join a club of a bunch of people who just sit there and do nothing and don't say hello? Why not join a club that people they care for you and they wonder what you're doing and they stay in touch? So that worked tremendously when I was in Illinois. We would have 90% attendance out of a club that had 130 members at a regular club meeting. I mean, that's huge attendance. And those that weren't attending typically got phone calls from their friends. It worked.
Thank you. Rick?
Yes, Jerry is on this call too. Jerry and I look at the attendance every month, and then we make phone calls. It's amazing what you find out when you call people of why they're not attending. But it does help to get people to come attend, because yesterday's meeting, I had about 6, 7 people show up we haven't seen in a month. They wanted to know about the COVID protocols. We said we're only doing 4 per table. We're spreading out. Wear your mask if you want to wear a mask. And everybody seemed to be happy that we're doing some sort of protocols for the COVID, and that's helping them come back to the meeting. So pick up the phone and call somebody. That's what you got to do. Pick up the phone. Ray, you're right. Pick up the damn phone. Tell people you miss them. Ask them why, and answer their questions. I got hit with a few questions, or people asked me yesterday about their dues, and I was able to satisfy them, because we changed our due structure to a monthly instead of quarterly, trying to make it easier, and that blew up in our face. So we ought to make sure that, you know, we answered their questions, and hopefully we'll get to each one of them. If they have questions, we'll answer them and we'll get back.
So call him, Steve.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback. You know, I've always said that, you know, attending meetings is a habit, and unfortunately, so does not attending meetings. And it becomes very easy once you start skipping meetings to continue that trend. You know, I'm going to be late. So I do like the idea of calling. I think that's one of the things we did. You know, shout out to John Newberger and the Sugar and Highlands Club. I mean, it was a smaller club, and if members weren't there, people were checking in on them. So it was. But I do agree that, you know, missing meetings becomes a habit, and if you can let people know that they do matter, that they were missed, I think that goes a long way.
Hey, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to ask if they lost the habit of Rotary. So perfect.
Hey, Dale, there's a comment about what about people who do not like to attend meetings by Zoom? The comment was there are a lot of members who do not like Zoom meetings.
Anyone want to chime in there?
I don't like broccoli either, but occasionally you have to eat it. It is what we is. It's what we got.
Dale, I'll chime in on that one. We recently had a very good speaker come to our club, and we wanted to really have a good attendance at that. And so I got on a mission of contacting every member, and through conversation, what evolved out of that was I made it also an opportunity to recognize those members with more than 30 years of service, of which we have 9 in our club. And so via email, I was able to get all but one of the 9 at the meeting, and I'd say half of them are Zoom haters, but they were the ones with over 30 years of service, and they wanted to be recognized for their contribution to Rotary over a 30 to 40 year period. And it worked. We had one member who hadn't been to a meeting in a year come to that meeting, but it was because of the contact that people here are suggesting, and because of the recognition. So I think remembering people want fellowship and want to be recognized are good things to tap into.
And a suggestion I would also have, Mark, is there may be those who are immunocompromised or otherwise unable or unwilling to go out in public that also hate Zoom, or just don't have the capability or willingness to try it. And I've thought about that, and I think about the only thing I have is that you just continue a monthly call or something with them, so that when this thing is over, you can get them back, because there may be those who can't do either.
Well, that's what we used to say too, was, you know, Zoom isn't an alternative to a Rotary meeting. It's an alternative to no meetings. So this is what we have. It's the best we have at the time. Now here it's an additional advantage, and if you like it, but I like the idea Because you're right, a lot of the older members, they're not comfortable with the technology, or some people they're on Zoom all week and they don't want to be on it again. So, but I would stress, we had special speakers, I would make sure, please, your attendance is requested. We have to have a good turnout, or else we can't have these speakers. If we're going to have 10 people online, we need 20 plus, for a good turnout if we're going to keep offering these. So I would stress that, please sort of suck it up and join the meeting regardless.
Yeah. Alan?
Yes, I just want to follow up on what Peter was saying, that we've actually, well, a few of the people also, we've had our president, Scott Mills, he's, been dynamic and, calling and following up when some members aren't showing up or zooming on. And that's been really, really, really outstanding, along with there were a couple, one particular member that was computer challenged, and actually got with him and went over and got him all situated so that he was able to get on the meetings. And I think he's been real happy to be with us again, doing that. The only drawback that we had, going back to the survey type of thing, is that some members, they don't want to pay for their meals. So we've added, because they're only Zooming. So basically we have altered our due structure to with administrative fees versus the combined meals and administrative. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thanks.
Sure. And before I'll get to you just a second, Rick. But Kathy made comment, Zoom meetings are better than no meetings, similar to what someone else said. And they actually have several advantages, no travel time being one, which, to be honest, I really like for district meetings. And we need to stop focusing on the negative and look at the positive side of it as well. Rick, you want to make a comment?
Yes, we did the same thing. We created a category for people that, because of the pandemic, so they don't pay for their meals. They just pay $20 a month to stay a Rotarian. Because we had a lot of people say they wanted to drop out because of the pandemic. They didn't want to go to meetings, blah, blah, blah. So that's why we created a separate category just for COVID pandemic. So they're on like a COVID leave of absence. So we charge $20, so they're still in, still covers the district dues. And I think we have 8 to 10 people of our group that are into that category now.
Well, can I ask a question regarding that?
Sure.
When you bill your dues, do you automatically bill for meals at that time? How does that
Yes.
work? Okay.
Yes. So what we do is we bill $20 a month for your dues, and then we bill $40 a month for your meals. So that way we're not charging these people for meals because they're not attending the meeting. So they're happy that, but we are not doing Zoom because of the size of our group. It just got out of hand. You couldn't hear anything because, we had 60 people at a meeting, and it's just so hard. And so that's why we went back to only meetings, but that might be something I'll talk to the board about, and maybe our Zoom meetings is not visual. It's just, voice rec, the audio part of it. Because how are you going to get a room with 60 people and only 4 people at a table in the video? So that's the issue there.
Yeah, and our new meeting space does allow us to do that. We have 2 microphones that we walk around with as well. But we had to get a new meeting space, and we ended up going to Bounce Innovation Hub. And some people don't like it because it is a little bit more classroom style, if you will. But it allows us to do the hybrid during each meeting. But we're currently virtual 100% as well.
Okay.
This is Tom Knauer from Akron. I'd like to ask a question about the monthly due structure. Isn't it correct that you need to pay RI dues for the year, though? So if folks are coming month to month and stop coming and paying, isn't the club on the hook for the dues to RI, and isn't it a potential financial problem?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
I have one thing I would like to say. One of the things we do, we actually have club dues, district dues, and international dues. And they're billed on a quarterly basis. Hopefully it's a wash. If someone leaves, we get someone recruiting. But yeah, it can be. But one of the things is we went to, you only pay for meals that you attend. And we'll bill, and we pay $15 when you arrive. Hopefully we ask that people have that cash on hand, because we don't want people, prior to that was prepaying, but we don't want people being sick or feeling the need to attend because they paid for it and they're not feeling well. So that was sort of our rationale for that when we started reopening, that we would stick to, pay only if you attend. And that way we wouldn't encourage people that were sick. Well, I paid for it.
Yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
that's
come
what
to
we
the-
did too. Tom and I are in the same club.
We do the same. You pay your dues, but you pay for lunch the time of the meeting. So you pay if you show. If you don't eat, we still charge, I think, Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a $5 fee for attendance. The challenge is the place we're at sort of wants a meal minimum every week to make it worth their while. So we have to kind of hit a certain number to make it feasible. I think we're making that number, but we certainly could be better if more people attended and ate.
Yeah, we are making that number, and we're actually going through a process now because it is a new venue, but it's a great venue. Technologically, you couldn't ask for it to be better because it has tons of monitors and TVs, and everybody can see everything. We can hear. We set it up. I run the Zoom for each meeting on site, or I can run it from remotely if I have to. But it is critical that you have your audio. I agree, Rick, with that. But we do bill annually because we can't be in the hole for dues if we lose people. So we bill once annually, and we start our billing process in March, actually. And we have a set structure for increases every year for the next 3 years as well. But like Tom said, we used to do a meal deal, but that went away with the pandemic. But we always bill separately for meals for that very reason. And we do have RSVPs now, so that helps us as well.
Thank you. So Lee put a script for calling a member who's not been attending in the chat. We'll include that in the notes that we send out with the list of practices that we collect here, so that you have that. And Lee also asked if the dues issues make an accounting issue, and I'd say probably. John, you have a question or comment? Please unmute.
Yeah, I do. We have really not lost very many members, and all of our members come pretty much to the Zoom meetings. And the reason they come is there's two reasons. One is we go around the room and we go to the people and we ask them to update us as to what's happening with them and so on. And it's particularly interesting now with the pandemic. Some people have the virus and some people don't. And they tell us about it. But we also have good speakers. We have a speaker every single week, and that helps get the people out, and they want to listen to the speakers. We just can't get new people. That's our big problem.
Thank you. In the interest of time, unless there's another idea that we want to get on the table, we'll ask the question one more time, the poll, and see what the third issue is. And we'll only have about 10 to 15 minutes of time to talk about this one once it's done. So in this case, we're voting for the third most or the second or first, if yours didn't get selected the first time, issue that is facing your club this year. That's pretty flat. And we've already, so in terms of, so we've talked about attracting new members and attendance. So why don't we talk about loss of members, and we'll ask the third question or second question just one more time. And what is the driver of losing members? Pandemic impacts again. So that might make the conversation short. So are the loss of members driven by I assume are driven by the same factors as meeting attendance and attracting new members? Is there disagreement with that anywhere? Are there other actions that we would take to prevent losing members other than the ones we've already listed? Such as calling them to follow up to see how they're doing and try to get them back? And a question, should we, once we've kind of lost them or they haven't shown up for a while, should we treat them like a prospective member and go after them like we would someone we would be trying to get to join the club? Mark, you have a comment?
I think that it's when we before the pandemic hit, we were losing members, and it was due to job responsibilities and not being able to come to meetings, things along those lines, and or they moved away, or we also suffered a lot of deaths in our club. And so I think the thing that we definitely need to look at is how are we keeping those members still involved and engaged in like the service projects that people talked about, and checking in on them to see if how they're doing and what the issues are that they're particularly not coming to meetings. But I think that it's also the club culture also takes a place in that, some aspect of that. So I think you have to look at that as well. And yeah, so those are the things that I would definitely say. Also family commitments, because if you're getting younger people, they have a lot of family commitments that they're not able to participate in Rotary. So I think there's a lot of different factors that go into why you're losing members.
I would like to add, one of the things I would say is, with these say Rotary, they come in the front door, they go out the back door. But a lot of times too, some of these people that are joining Rotary, probably had no business in joining Rotary in the first place. I mean, they were there. We've seen these members, or financial analysts or whatever. They come in, they expect to recruit. They're young. They want to hit all the members, and within a year they're out of the club. So I try to be realistic on the expectations when we do induct new members and stuff, and explain to them, we're a service organization primarily. Yes, there's connections and fellowships, and these will grow with you, but it's a soft sell, and eventually it will come to you. But I think a lot of people, there's a percentage of new members that come in and expect to do business there. They're primarily to expand their business. So I think that's one of the problems. And again, a lot of reasons. And again, if you're not getting new members, you're declining in membership. I mean, that's just the way it is for all the reasons Mark mentioned. And again, too, I think it's also the culture, service organization. If your projects aren't worthwhile, if you're not getting them involved, if you don't have someone to mentor them and get them hooked up to a right committee, I think that's an issue. Also, too, if you talk to some of the newer members, they're almost shocked when you tell them that you meet on a weekly basis. That's you meet every week. So, that's something maybe changing. Do we go bi-monthly or twice every 2 weeks? But those are issues for individual clubs to discuss.
Yeah, I'll come to you in a second, Alan.
Okay.
Cheryl has a question. So we answered the majority pandemic impact on loss of new members, but have we done exit interviews to know that that's the case? Or maybe just adding on to Cheryl's question, are we not attracting the new members that would make the loss of those members less painful? So maybe we need to get some data and make sure it's the pandemic that's causing that. Alan?
Yes, I wanted to follow up on what Mark said. He made a really good comment about younger families. And one of the things that one of our members mentioned, because he does have younger middle school students or children in the schools, about having a dedicated fundraiser or our service project that actually has the Hillcrest, Sunrise, Rotary name applied to it, such as a relay or a sponsored walk or something like that. I think that's how we need to get more. And I agree with what Dominic Coletta was saying, that we need something as a service project that we can actually put our name to it. That Rotary stands out, and the image, the public image can hone in on and bring it all to light in the communities. And I think that's how we're going to get more members and keep more members. And I think Mark was really hitting that home about younger families coming in, or younger members with families coming in. So I just wanted to, that's what we're trying to do in Hillcrest. We're looking for the right project. I mean, when I first joined 4 years ago, I was introduced to the Special Olympics bowling at the Palace. And I'm going to tell you something, it was the most gratifying experience I've ever had in donating and spending my time helping others. And I was a Boy Scout years ago, but this hit home. My heart was crying the entire way home. So if we can do things like that, that's what's going to make us hit home runs here. That's what I believe.
Thank you, Alan. Larry, you had a comment?
I do, kind of just following up on what Alan and Mark just were talking about, young families. Most of you have heard, I've been in Rotary since I could walk. As a young kid, my dad had my brother and I both involved in Rotary from the day we could walk, in service projects, fundraisers, club events of all kinds. So, the one thing to look at with young families is make it a family-oriented club where we're involving their kids, which are future Rotarians. I joined Rotary officially when I was 30 years old. I just started my family, and my girls have been involved with our club and also other organizations that I've been a member of their whole life. My oldest daughter now is at the University of Central Florida, and she is a Rotaractor there. So she has gone from being an interactor at Roosevelt High School in Kent to being a Rotaractor, and she will be a Rotarian one day. So that's how we get I feel that we get our young members involved, our family members, is get them involved and let them see what Rotary is. I think that's another great concept for memberships in our clubs, are family memberships, as well as we talked about corporate. It also gets them, our young ones, talking to their friends and their friends' parents, and it's another member multiplier that we can get out to many people just by introducing it to our whole family. So
thank you, Larry. Peter, you're next.
Yeah, two thoughts in listening to the comments. One was a very recent experience I had in talking to a member. And after a long conversation, it finally came out that this particular member and her family were going through some financial struggles, and she was a little embarrassed to mention that. And so at the end of the conversation, I said, I didn't make any commitments to her. I just listened to her, and I said, we want you very much in the club, and let's work on how we can make that happen. And it left with a very positive note. So sometimes you don't know what's going on behind the scenes unless you're talking to the members and engaging with them. And at this time, that also brought up another issue, and it is pandemic related. Both of the people in the family, when I talked to them, were suffering from COVID right now, and we're very discouraged about this, as it's now 2 years and it's a second go around for them. So just a timely call to talk and say, hey, this is going to end. We're going to get through this. You need to be in the club. Don't go away. And so just being there as a friend and a fellow member is often important. Second is one of the opportunities we have to attract new members is in the district is the formation of Rotaract clubs. The dues for Rotaract clubs on campus is Rotary International dues is $5, and off campus dues for Rotaract members is $8. So the international dues are very, very affordable for Rotaract. And so we can engage the community, but it provides a great opportunity, a great field or to recruit from for Rotary. They get into Rotaract and they want to do more, they can get into Rotary when it becomes an opportunity for them to do so. I know we're looking at Rotaract clubs right now in the district, and we can do more in that venue.
Okay, thank you, Peter. We have a couple more, and then I think in the interest of time, we're going to have to move to the next item in the agenda. So first Steve, then Pat.
Well, okay.
Yeah, one of the things we're doing now, I just worked to get an Interact Club formed. They just had their first meeting this month. They have about 10 to 15 members. So, it's my hope that they're out there. That's 10 to 15 kids of 10 to 15 families and going out into the community with Rotary shirts on or Interact shirts on. That's going to help to get our name out in the community. Also, we did develop an associate membership for 35 years and younger, where you basically just pay your district international dues, and then you're billed for only meetings you attend to sort of make this more affordable for younger members. My other 2 cents was to John Newberger with the Chagrin Highlands Club. They do a lot of community service projects, and they have the National Honor Society, have these kids show up and help them with the sports challenge, which is their Special Olympics they do with the Metzenbaum Center. Get the kids, if you don't have an Interact club, maybe recruit a student organization to come and help with your service projects as a way of getting your name out. Again, like the National Honor Society, a lot of these high school kids have community service requirements. So maybe that would be a way to tap into if you don't have the Interact going. So again, a National Honor Society or some student organization, invite them to help out to get your name out.
Thank you. Pat.
I'll be brief. I know that Steve already mentioned one that I was going to say. We have a number of our leadership Hudson. Each one of our club members took a member or a young person in the community that we would like to encourage to become members of our clubs. We paid their dues. Each member did it as a donation, paid their dues for the year so that the member could see what the club is like and experience the club. And even one of our members brought his daughters each time they were home from school or whenever we were having a social in the evening, whenever we did projects. They would help with the shelter boxes, and we made the oldest one an associate member. So we have a number of associate members this year that are all becoming very active. They're there for a whole year, and they're enjoying their membership. And I should clarify, when I misspoke, we paid $25 to our club for dues. We did not pay for RI dues or district dues. We just made them associate members for $25. So it was an easy thing to do, and that means we're also mentoring them or sitting with them when they come. They're becoming very active.
It's a nice idea. Thank you, Pat. And with that, I'll hand it back to Peter. I don't have the agenda in front of me, and I can't recall what comes next.
Thanks very much, Dale. Good job. And our our next item on the agenda is Sean Gordon, who's going to work her magic and give us a summary of some takeaways we have from today's meeting. So Sean, it's all over to you.
Yes. Hi. Good morning, everybody. Oh my goodness. I literally could not put my pen down, not 1 second. There were so many incredible ideas, and I'm so glad that this was recorded because, because I'm going to need to go back, and I want to make sure to credit all of you for your wonderful ideas. First of all, thank you for being here today. You know, it's one of the challenges that we all have. All of our clubs have the same challenge. We're losing members, trying to attract them, retaining members. I loved all of these really great ideas about the smaller service projects, maybe more often, you know, outside is a really good idea right now with the pandemic. You know, obviously working in healthcare, I do understand the concerns of wanting to you know, just be healthy and the whole idea about COVID protocols for the meeting. I mean, I think that was great too. So I'm just going to hit some really brief recap some things briefly because all of this will come out to you and you can read it, and you've all participated, and thank you so much. But obviously leveraging Zoom, we talked a lot about that. For better speakers, for a broader impact, encouraging others. And you know, I've actually invited non-members to some of our speakers, our Zoom sessions, because I knew the topic was of interest to that particular person, right? So that's another thing to think about. And gosh, you know, Shale mentioned how the hybrid is working for them. Members are comfortable. Lee mentioned the smaller weekly project idea, which is just fantastic. And then Pat shared about the planting of the trees in the park. Again, outside, small group during the pandemic, that's the special ingredient right there. The corporate membership idea that Steve brought forth, you know, fantastic. We've tried that, I know, in our Kent Club. I'm a member of the Kent Club, and it's kind of been, you know, off and on. I'm not sure. I think we could do more work there, right? And then Dale mentioned leveraging social media to attract new members and how he went on to start a satellite club through social media. So what I have found with social media is that some of us like it and some of us don't. So I think that it's one of the tools in our toolbox, but you know, that one-to-one that Ray kept talking about, and you know, I give brownie points for Ray today because Ray really hit the nail on the head when he talked about it's all about the relationship building. It truly is. It's all about the relationship building, and then what you can do service-wise to help impact the community through those relationships. So all that one-on-one reaching out and contacting is so important. Let me see here real quick. I'm going through all my notes. You guys, seriously, I have like 7-8 pages of handwritten notes here. John and his idea about the best method really is person to person. And I agree with that. You know, that's all about what Ray said. The relationship building is so important. Phil, wonderful idea from Phil about raising money for a particular project, right? Like a smaller project in the community that you can get out there and fundraise for and use that project as an opportunity to leverage introducing the club and potentially recruiting new members. So great idea. I think that's really the first time I've heard it that way. So kudos to Phil and the Twinsburg Club. And then Larry, our district governor, you know, obviously that district public image committee is really, really important. And just a reminder to everyone, please talk to Dale, talk to Larry, get the word out about what your group is doing. So important. Lee's suggestion of using the Paul Harris to recognize someone in the community, brilliant. The Kent Club did that recently. It's brilliant. And it does engage new people. And also, I think it just helps spread the word about what we're doing in the community, right? And recognizing others who are of like mind and like heart. So that's great. Let me see here. Jerry mentioned, I thought also very eloquently that, you know, people want to help. They want to do something. They want to volunteer. He mentioned the online raffle, which was a fabulous idea, and how they connected with a Rotary Club in Kentucky and they had a blanket donation. I mean, how fun is that, you know? I'm just thinking about, maybe look for your sister club, right? I know that we used to do a lot of that where we had sister clubs around the world, or, what could we do during this time of a global pandemic? How can we broaden our reach and help others in other communities as well? Jerry also said that they're having to evaluate their fundraisers, right? Absolutely. What's working right now? What's not really good to do? But again, he reiterated, do something. The group needs a project. And I loved the small project ideas, as I said. So let me move quickly here to Larry again mentioned the challenge with the meeting locations, and some of them are disappearing. Look at local churches, look at local schools, find a way. This pandemic will end. I promise you, it will end. And we just have to kind of keep ourselves, going to get through. And I do think that Zoom and the technology is important, and we can use it, right? Like, so I serve on the district grants committee also, and that has been so helpful for that committee, because otherwise you're coming in from all over the place and you're there for hours, and it's, so think about, I do agree with those who said, think about ways to leverage Zoom. It's not the be all and end all by any means, but it does have its place. Steve talked about, the need to find a bigger venue to get members back in person. And, again, the COVID protocols that Rick mentioned, I think just it's really important. People need to feel safe, right? So kudos again to Ray about the personal touch, and a lot of questions around the dues structure and what you're doing right now, each club in terms of the pandemic. That's really kind of at the club level, I know, but great sharing of ideas. And it's interesting how all the clubs are doing something a little differently. And I think that just kind of speaks to the culture, right, of the club and who's comfortable and all of that. So I want to call out Peter. Peter talked a lot about recognizing our Rotarians who have certain years of service, right? 20 year, 30 years of service, that recognizing them is a great way to bring them back, to re-engage them. And people want the fellowship and want to be recognized. And that's absolutely right. The monthly calls to people, checking in, it's just really important to make people feel welcomed. And like Mark said about culture, the cultures of the clubs are so, so important. And especially during the time of the pandemic, we're all kind of leaning on each other. So it's extra important. Again, some dues questions, and we'll follow up with all of this in writing too. I'm just kind of hitting the high points. John mentioned that his members like to share personal stories. And I think that's also part of that relationship building that we talked about. And it's fun when you know your club members and then you go on to do service projects together and their families. And I loved how Larry talked about the generational participation. And, anytime my kids were around or in town or what, they were there, I brought them to the meetings, again, because, something I know they would be interested in, and to set that good example, right, and be that role model. And Larry certainly has done that for his daughters, and that's really nice. Let me see here, what else? Mark talked about losing members and for a variety of responsibilities and variety of issues. And one thing he said really struck me. Mark said, how do we keep them involved and engaged? What's the inspiration? Right. And that's that magic that we're all really looking for. And I think we have a lot of great ideas from today's session, actually. Steve talked about the culture. Steve talked about mentors and committee work, which I think is so important. If we don't engage these new people in committees right away, I think we lose them. I mean, I know from my personal experience, I have invited people to be new members, and if they didn't get connected soon enough, they were gone. It just didn't stick. So I think the committee invitation is very important from my experience. Alan talked about a dedicated service project that's his club branded, right? Like, I love that. Alan, are you in marketing? Because that is really, really good. So I think you can look for, the individual clubs can look for an event in the community that they can brand with their logo, their identity. And of course, it's all about service, which is which is wonderful and why we're here. And then Peter mentioned using the Rotaract Club, the Interact Club as ways to build that next generation, build that pipeline and recruit our new members in the future. And then Ryan, I happened to catch Ryan in the chat, and he sent a PDF and talked about the Learning Center and courses and all of that. So hopefully we can find a way to get to that information. I was too busy writing all this down that I didn't dare go look at that. And then Steve suggested an associate membership for individuals who are younger. And I love that idea because we talked a lot about the financial challenges, maybe of some of the younger families, and they've got kids and you know, a lot going on. So I love the associate membership. And Pat Myers also talked about, you know, identifying people in the community who you want to be a fellow Rotarian and work with them to help make that happen. So I just think that a lot of really, really great ideas this morning, and I will put all this together for you, and Cheryl's going to help me with the recording, and thank you all so much. I learned from you this morning, so I really appreciate that, and well done to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Well done to you. That was excellent. You know, I want to thank Sean, and I want to thank Dale, and I want to thank Michael and Cheryl for putting this program together today. They did an outstanding job, and it wouldn't be possible without them. So congratulations. An overview thought from me, two of them. One, you know, what outstanding talent we have in our clubs, in our district, in terms of membership, the wealth of knowledge and wealth of ideas. And my thought is, my recommendation is that each club just needs to work together as a club and lock on to 3 or 4 strategic initiatives to address membership. And it looks like member engagement and member involvement is a huge need, and we need to address that. And that links to member attraction, bringing new members in. But it starts with the engagement of our members as a whole. And so you can work getting members engaged through the membership initiatives that we talked about here today. And we're going to get these back out to you. And so if you have additional thoughts or ideas, we'd love to hear them. And I want to ask for feedback from anybody here about today's meeting. And did you like this format? And would you like to continue to work on this format and have another meeting in 90 days or so to see where we're at and continue this process? So I'd like your feedback. Any comments from the group? Such a quiet group.
Yes, I think doing this regularly in short stints like this is helpful. If nothing else, it just gets you to re-engage and think about things and hear about new ideas.
Excellent. If I don't see any more comments coming through, so thank you all for being here today. Wonderful job, wonderful engagement, wonderful input, and we're all looking forward to the spring when the COVID is gone and we can return to our more normal lives. Thank you all for taking time on Saturday.
Thank you, Peter.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Peter, I've got a yard full of robins.
Oh, that's nice. Spring's on its way.